Welcome to the Village Boy Podcast. Your host, Tress. I have want, I have wanted to do this video for a long time, and for some reason, I keep putting it up. But today, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about this. This video is a year old. It's nothing new. It's a year old. But I have been one of the harshest critics of the DEI and affirmative action programs. I've never been in support of those programs, but not for the reasons that most people are against the programs. As a black man myself, the reasons why I'm against those programs is one, affirmative action. White women are the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action. If white women are the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action, then black people should not be used as the face. If you want to create a program for white women and you think that we need more white women in college, create a program for white women. Create a program for white women. But black people constantly take the heat for programs like affirmative actions when they don't even benefit from it that much. That said, this conversation is about DEI, and like affirmative action, I've been a critic for the same reason, using blackface to drive a program that black people do not benefit. But you have the far right, the MAGA left, the MAGA right, sorry, the white MAGA people coming down on black folks for a program they largely don't even benefit from compared to white women. And here's a conversation that, like I said, is 1 year old. This conversation was a reaction to Mr. Charlie Kirk, a provocateur in the MAGA movement. I find him to be borderline racist. I have a video that labels like racist, sexist, homophobist, transphobist. I'm making up these words. It doesn't even matter. They don't matter no more. You can call somebody a racist. They don't matter no more. That's why somebody like a guy I follow, Matt Walsh, can say he's proud for the things that the immigrant settlers, he doesn't want to call them immigrants. He wants to call them settlers. They're immigrants. They had to kill a lot of natives. He argues that the natives were killing each other. They enslaved black people who worked for hundreds of years for free. That helped build the American capitalism system. Mind you, cannot be replicated anywhere else on earth. You cannot replicate American capitalism because of slavery. You would need to have slaves work for 100 years for free to have American capitalism as is today. Without slavery, America will not exist as is today. And so that's why you cannot replicate American capitalism. Countries across the world have tried, but it's short-lived because they don't have the length of time that people have to work for free to generate the profit margins that would build the other industrialized sectors. So these are the things that come about when you give people a platform. But back to DEI. Here, my good lady friend that I follow, I love her a lot, Megyn Kelly. I find Megyn Kelly to be very reasonable, ask tough questions, very middle of the road. She was not originally far right MAGA. She was not originally all the way in for Trump, but she came across like most of us. I was not also anti-Trump, but I came on board. I saw because the liberals had gone so far left. So I liked Megyn. I like her. I follow her content, but I was seriously disappointed in this interview that we're going to watch here shortly. So in this interview, in summary, we're going to watch it, but in summary, Charlie Kirk said if he sees, because of the passage of the DEI laws, if he sees any Black pilot, he's going to assume that Black pilot is not qualified. Any Black pilot, any, there's an entire continent that has at least 90% of its population Black. Have pilots that fly planes in those countries that fly planes to America. Mr. Kirk says if he sees any Black pilot, he's going to assume they're not qualified. Because in the mind of Mr. Kirk, Black people only exist in America. And in the mind of Mr. Kirk, Black people don't always have the skill sets needed. Without further ado, let's go ahead and play this video for the audience.
You got yourself in some trouble online because you're always stirring up trouble online.
Oh my goodness, they're having some pleasantry. You're getting yourself in some trouble because you're always starting trouble online. That's it. It's called starting trouble, right? It's pleasantry. A slap on the wrist. Megan, you disappoint me. It's always starting trouble online. This is a man who's borderline racist, and you're calling it starting trouble online.
Reacting
I'm such
to
a troublemaker.
You are a troublemaker. Reacting to a June 2021 clip, but it was making the rounds on X, of the CEO of United Airlines, Scott Kirby, talking about their quotas over at United for diversity in the ranks of pilots, which is extremely controversial for obvious reasons. Here's the clip that you were reacting to in South 13.
Before we listen to what the CEO of United has to say, people, please pay attention. The key word you're looking for here is Black. Listen keenly if the CEO mentions Black anytime. Let's just listen and count the number of times the CEO says Black.
Military. How is diversity and diversity targets working into the Aviate Academy?
We have committed that 50% of the class of the classes will be women or people of color. Today, only 19% of our pilots at United Airlines are women or people of color. And by the way, from all the data I've seen, that's the highest of any airline in the country.
White males don't just dominate in the cockpits, also in the C-suite at United Airlines.
Well, look, at United, I'm proud of the diversity that we actually have in our C-suite. I think if you look around corporate America.
Correct me if I'm saying, though, so this was just based off your website, the people you list as executives, but out of 11 people, 3 are women. I believe 1 is a person of color.
That's correct. But, in corporate America, I think,
That's a low bar. How do you raise your own bar?
Well, a lot of this is, focusing on it. We have programs one of the things we do is for every job when we do an interview, we require women and people of color to be involved in the interview process.
Did you hear the CEO say Black one time? He said women and people of color. Women and people of color. What does people of color mean? And are they not women who are colored? So what group of women is he talking about? Women and people of what do they even mean, these statements, women and people of color? Let's look it up. People of color is a term used in the United States to describe individuals who are not white, encompassing groups like Black, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, and multiracial people. It's a broad collective label meant to highlight shared experience of racial marginalization or discrimination in a historical white-dominated society. Keep this in mind. In a historical white dominated society. It didn't say white male dominated society, excluding white females. It said white dominated society. The phrase gained traction in the late 20th century, especially during the civil rights era, as an alternative to terms like minority, which some find reductive or older. In 2020, the US Census pegged people of color at about 40% of the population, 18.5 Hispanic, 12.4% Black, 6% Asian, 1.1% Native American, and 2.9% two or more races. White alone, non-Hispanic was 60%. The history continues. But we're talking about people of color. So, people of color is a term used in the United States to describe individuals who are non-white. So, the CEO did say women and people of color. So, people who are non-white and women. What category do these women fall under? Are they white? Are they Black? Why are they isolating women outside of the race bracket? Why didn't I just say white and people of color? The white will include white women and white men, and people of color would include people of color male and people of color female. Why didn't they break it like that? He said women and people of color. How did Charlie get from people of color to if I see any Black pilot, I would think they're not qualified? We went from people of color, an encompassing group that includes multi different races, to isolating just Black people. That has to mean you have a problem with Black people, Mr. Kirk. Unless in America, the dog whistle is people of color means Black. And since we're in the pleasantry state, let's go ahead and listen in some more now that they're beginning to analyze the conversation of the CEO.
Shut up. Oh, I'm sick of this nonsense.
It's so repulsive.
All right, so wait, let me finish
yeah.
it by your reaction to it. And people freaked out because you said the thing that you're not supposed to say, but that's what you're known for. Here he is in SOT 14 on Charlie's show.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now. Thank you.
See what's smoking. In what world I have traveled across this great country. I've traveled across the world. Never have I ever thought about, oh my God, it was a white pilot, it was a Black pilot. It's a turbulence. I am hoping the pilot can handle this. What has the race of the pilot got to do with his ability or her ability to navigate through turbulence? So the slightest turbulence, this guy right here is going to be like, oh my God, I'm happy the pilot was a white man. That's why I don't like DEI. Because you create a program where racists can be racist. Racists can openly attack Black people. Liberals, white liberals, stop creating these programs, because you can hear what they say. A turbulence, he's happy the pilot was a square chin, it's a white guy, and he knows he's in good hands. Like I said, this video is a year old. I'm reacting to this video 1 year later. So at the time that we're having this conversation, they did not know about the flight in DC, but now I know. They're all white people. You think the passengers in that plane were, oh my goodness, the pilots in there are white. They're going to save us. They're going to go higher because this chopper guy is coming up. No, sir. And the plane was not to blame. But it was an accident that happened. For somebody to sit and think that he could then say, oh, if there's a turbulence, we glad. How many people even noticed the pilots? How many people had the plane just notice, oh my goodness, the pilots are white, the pilots are Korean, the pilots are Filipino. Are we gonna be safe? Are we gonna make it? Don't fly. Wait, go to the stand and ask, is the pilot a white pilot? Because I'm only gonna fly on planes that have white pilots. What madness. And this, you cannot even call them out because they're immune to labels. I have a show that asks, are labels still valid? The labels are no longer valid because you can't even call them racist. It doesn't mean anything. This is why I don't support white liberals using blackface for programs, no matter how good the program is. If it benefits other categories, I don't want any part of it because the MAGA movement, the white MAGA, is going to come for black people for no reason. They're just going to come for black people. Like this turd. I'm so lucky I saw the pilot. The pilot was a white man. Imagine this guy sitting through a turbulence and the pilot was black.
I mean,
about
like,
that.
you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well,
There it
you
is. There it is. That's why we are doing this video. If he sees a black pilot, any black pilot, not a specific black pilot, not a pilot after DEI, not any pilot. Boy, I hope he is qualified. A black pilot has flown from Cape Town, South Africa, all the way to New York. Charlie Kirk, who has probably never visited Africa and never will, is sitting there trying to catch a flight from New York to Tennessee to go hang out with Matt Walsh, sees a group of black pilots coming from South Africa after a long, exhausting flight. And he's looking at them and saying, boy, I hope they are qualified because look at all of these DEI pilots. Now think about this. He grouped every black person to not be qualified because of DEI, white liberals. The insult we suffer because of you, white liberals. Did you hear what this man just said? Because of you, you created a program, a fake program that you said was going to benefit black people, but black people don't even benefit from it. All we get are insults and attacks. He's responsible for the things he says. Yes, but you created the environment for him to say this madness. The CEO of United said women and people of color. Not once did he mention black people. Not once did that CEO say black people are going to have 40%, 30%. He said women. And I need to let you guys know here that the women are white women because white women are considered a minority. Even though earlier on we looked at the distinction between people of color and the white owned majority, it never made any distinction between white men and white women. The majority of white women are married to white men. So if you're saying that white men are oppressing or own all the resources, it means that their significant others who are white women have the same power and leverage. How do you create a program for white women, excluding white men, when white women are predominantly married to white men? A program for minorities, but white women are in there when they're married to white men, and you don't want white men because white men are the power structure of the dominant culture. You're using the resources that was meant for minority communities to still give it back to white men. How does this policy make any sense? Let's not get carried away. Let's listen to Mr. Charlie do the talking.
You wouldn't have done
theory, I
that.
talked
You
about
wouldn't
it.
have. You
No,
wouldn't
and
have done
that's
that
not,
before.
that's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't
that's
have done
not
that
who I
before.
am. That's
No, sir, that's who you are. You just said it. You said the quiet part out loud. That's who you are. You must understand that if before this period of time you were talking, if you knew that you would get in trouble, you would say this in private corridors. You're not going to get on your show and say this. You don't say something that you don't believe and say, no, it's not who I am. I'm reacting to what you said, but I'm saying the things that I believe. I believe that you have a problem with black people because nowhere in this conversation did anybody bring up black people but you. People of color does not mean black. It's a multi-ethnic label that includes every person. And the highest majority in people of color are Hispanics, not even blacks. Why didn't you isolate Hispanics? Blacks make up 12.6% of the US population. Why did you isolate them? Is it that you think Hispanics don't have what it takes to be pilots? People of color does not mean black, Mr. Kirk. But you made it about black people. You and Megyn Kelly made it about black people, not about minority people, not about people of color, not about white women who benefit the most from DEI. So this program that the CEO was talking about benefits white women a lot more than it would benefit any black person. Mr. Kirk, and not once did you bring the argument that white women should not benefit. If you saw a white woman pilot, you're going to ask, boy, I hope they're qualified. And he specifically said, he did not say white women because they have this hidden language they have to keep using, say women and people of color. What women? What women don't go under people of color? White women don't qualify as people of color. So it's white women and people of color. That's the label. That's how he should have said it. But Charlie, did you isolate white women? Did you say, oh, you know what? If I see any white woman at the airport, any white female pilot, boy, I'm going to ask, I hope she's qualified. No, you never said that. You isolated black people. And when they try to call you out, instead of apologizing, you said, this is not who you are. This is exactly who you are. And you've doubled down on it because it's who you are. You're not fixing to walk away from this.
That's not what I believe.
It is the reality.
How can you be saying something that you don't believe? Are you dumb? Are you a fool? Are you an idiot? Who goes hard on things they don't believe? Who makes it a point to have a conversation in something they don't believe? Charlie, who does that? Who talks about something they don't believe in? You don't believe in something. What are you talking about? It's a position that you hold firmly because you believe that the people that created it are the reasons why you're talking about this, but somehow you don't believe in it. This is not who you are. Pass me with that BS, sir. This is who you are, is what you believe. And this little clown, all of them, all four of them right here, same people. That's white MAGA right there. Right? This is exactly white MAGA. This is who they are.
Left has created.
The meltdown after this with people like, oh, and the proper response was from you, from people like Matt Walsh, this is the world you people have created.
No. White liberals are evil. I agree. I can give you that. This is why I've been against this program, that they should never have created a program that would allow people like Kirk come after black people. You see how that works out? White liberals created a program that would benefit you, Megyn Kelly, a white woman. You may not use that benefit, but your other white sisters use the benefits. White women benefit astronomically on DEI compared to any other group. You have white women, you have LGBT, and then maybe you have blacks. If he wants to doubt who is not qualified, he should first of all see a white woman and say, boy, I hope that white woman is qualified. Next up, an LGBT pilot. Boy, I hope that he, she, no gender is qualified. Then maybe if he sees a black pilot in America, that's American. DEI does not exist outside of America. The pilots, Megyn, you are the biggest beneficiary of DEI. But you guys are sitting here right now and saying, oh, the liberals, the white liberals created this. I agree, they did. But you don't have to go that route. You don't have to play that game with them. You don't have to pick this narrative and run with it. No, you don't have to do it. But you decided to do it. And then play victim at the same time that, oh, they made you do it. Sounds like a 5-year-old. Sounds like an abuser. They abuse somebody and say, look at what you made me do. You're abusing and attacking Black people and saying you're doing it because white liberals made you do it. White liberals created the environment for you to single out Black people and shame them for not being qualified because you don't know the metrics. And I agree, Mr. Kirk. I can agree with you and disagree with you at the same time, sir. No standards should ever be lowered to accommodate anybody, any gender, any race. But don't assume that because white people are somewhere, the standards were not lowered for them to qualify. That is dumb. I have worked with some of the dumbest white people I have ever met, and they did not get the same grades like everybody else. Don't act like white people have not had preferential treatment through the system. This will be hypocritical of you, or you're not knowledgeable enough to think that every time you see a white man, it means that they're an expert in the field. Mr. Kirk.
You have created this world
Yes.
where you make somebody's skin color the sole criterion for hiring, and then you react in horror when people wonder whether the qualifications are also there. The nerve to get so indignant about your reaction to that.
You can oppose. Like, I've always opposed, but I've never made it a race issue. I've always been against DEI, and I'm Black. I've been against it because I don't want you to question me when I work hard. You said every time you see me, if I was a pilot, you're going to question my credentials. Mr. Kirk, how am I going to support a program that's going to allow a white MAGA person question my credential? If I get on a plane, the other doofus is not going to feel safe because a Black man flying the plane, even though I worked my tail off to get to where I am. Why will I support a program that reduces me to the common denominator, to something that you two are always going to revert back to, which is race? It would have been fair if you were just critical of DEI. DEI is a program that lowers the standard to allow non-white people into the system. That is a fair argument to have. You're not attacking any community. You're just attacking DEI at face value. You're just attacking DEI the way it's presented. But you didn't do that. You single-handedly isolated Black people and made them your scapegoat. And how you don't see this is testimony to who you truly are. Because you don't think that you owe Black people an apology. Because you don't think that they're anything that you need to worry about whether you attack them. That's who you are, Mr. Kirk. Because if you feel like if there was an outcry that you've attacked a group of people that are not even the largest beneficiary of affirmative action or DEI, you should have come out and said, I'm sorry, this is not who I am. I didn't intend to say this. I shouldn't have singled out Black people in a conversation that includes people of color. I'm not a racist. But you didn't do that. You doubled down. And you said you were within your right because the white liberals made you do it. So you didn't even take responsibility for what you said. You passed the buck down to somebody else.
This is their world. You're just living in it.
Yes, and I want to just reiterate the essence of that clip that was missed by almost everybody. Jordan Peterson, to his credit, really picked up on it, which is what I was trying to be, very vulnerable with the audience, is that DEI.
Who the hell is Jordan Peterson? Is that some measure of validation if what you said was received positively or negatively? Jordan Peterson got you? He got. Were you addressing what you said to Jordan Peterson? Of course he got you. He understands you. You guys are swimming in the same pool. So he's going to get you. The other 3 people that are on the show got you too. Megyn Kelly here gets you. But you guys all have one thing in common. You're all white. You don't see the pain of other people that are not white with the things you say. You wanted to be vulnerable? No, you don't have to be vulnerable, sir. You could disagree with DEI. I was one of the first people who called Kamala Harris DEI. Stand on it. I call her DEI Harris because she was handpicked. She was picked for being black. That's a DEI hire. I was against it. But you cannot say you are vulnerable with who? You could totally disagree with something and not attack a subgroup of people.
Invites unwholesome thinking. And I said, I don't, and I was saying in the clip, that's not who I am. That's not what I believe. But what it does is it makes us worse versions of ourselves, Megan. That's the whole point of what I was saying, is that I now look at everything through a hyper-racialized diversity quota lens because of their massive insistence to try to hit these ridiculous racial hiring quotas. Of course, I believe anybody of any skin color can become a qualified pilot. That has never been my contention. I mean, it's silly. It's bigoted to think otherwise, right?
You said what you said, sir. You said what you said. The argument here was about people of color, but you isolated black people.
What I was saying, though, is when you currently have less like 3 to 4% of current pilots are blacks.
He goes again with the black thing. The CEO said women and people of color. Did he mention black, Charlie? Are you forgetting the women part? White women, black women, Hispanic women, Asian women, Native American women, multiracial women. Are you forgetting all of this part? Hispanic men, Asian men, Indian men, multiracial men, every non-white male, Charlie. And you're talking about 2% of blacks. That's it. This is it. This is the conversation. This is it. This hurts. Charlie, this is pitiful. You are making this about black people. There are more people of color in the people of color crayon. The only one that got out was the white male. The white woman is still in there. They outnumber black men. Charlie, did you talk about this?
Right now, 3 to 4%. And now they want to say this is just a hiring class of candidates. Are there enough candidates to fill the 50% quota?
Yes, because the people of color includes everybody that is non-white male. So there are enough people to fill the quota, Charlie. But if it was just black, then yes, you are right. There are not enough black people to fill the quota. But you think people of color means black. That means you have an inner resentment for black people because your focus is straight up on black people, not women and people of color. That's a broad coalition. White women and every other non-white male. If you take that group of people, you are going to have enough people that you can push through the ranks to become pilots. But if you only say blacks, yes, they're not going to have enough. But that's not, you're not focused on that, Charlie.
And the other question should be asked is, why is it a problem? Let's just ask the premise. Why is it a problem that 81% are white? And I love the Axios guy. Well, white males are dominating the cockpit. Yeah, those pesky safe flights are dominating our society, Megan. all those 25 years of commercial airliners that have kept on, dominating as if like the white male is like oppressing us with, their beautiful landings.
Charlie, safety is a top priority that we should never compromise. But if it's a field that is only for white men, then Black boys, Hispanic boys, Native American boys and girls, all of this non-white people are never going to aspire to get into that industry because they would feel that it's an industry that they cannot get into. So it makes sense that the doors should be open. You don't have to lower the standards, but it should be opened so that we have more people come. Because America is racially diverse, Charlie. You could train and open access so that other kids, other demographics can be part of this process. So we have a broad coalition. You could have the whites and all of these other breakdowns. So it's not about it being pesky and white safety and all of this stuff. It's not exclusionary, Charlie. It's to include more without necessarily watering down the system, Charlie. You don't have to water down the system. So I'm agreeing with you that you shouldn't water down the system, but you should include more people. You should make it a bigger and broader coalition. Charlie, there was a time you were too young. You're 30 years old, so you're too young. You probably don't know this. When Black men were not even allowed to play quarterback, the argument was Black people are not intelligent to read the play. So when a Black man played quarterback in those days, he had to be exceptional, right? He had to be exceptional. But what the NFL didn't do was the NFL didn't water down the game to accommodate Black players in the position of quarterback. And some of the best quarterbacks in your lifetimes are Black quarterbacks. You could deny it because I know you have a problem with Black people, but you could deny it, but they are. That's what happens when you open the door and bring other people in. The kids that look up to these people start to dream, Charlie. But you're never going to get it. I'm going to end the show right here. It's disappointing, Charlie, that you think only white people can be pilots. That you think whenever you see a Black man, he's not going to be qualified. In a conversation we're having about people of color, an inclusive umbrella that does not include only white males. Charlie, go back and reread what a person of color is. And if you watch my show, Charlie and Megan, hit the like button, hit the subscribe so I can continue to educate you guys so that you can continue to learn on what it means to become part of an inclusive America. Thank you.